Yeah. All right, we'll pause.
That probably does seem
Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it on there. I got the other ones here, so sounds good.
Is that doing anything?
I'm wondering what you're doing. You're out here just tap dancing on that thing?
That's not switching. You need to get some contact cleaner in there. Yeah.
Maestro, we're here again to celebrate our new release.
Yes.
The Manis.
The Manis pedal.
Yeah, so it's pretty obvious why we're here today if you just look at the board.
Yeah.
We have an original Klone Centaur.
From Josh Scott, no less.
Wow. Thank you, buddy.
Yes. Appreciate it.
And we're here to celebrate our new release called the Manis, which really is the evolution of the Klone for us.
I'm totally excited about it because it shows off our skills of our great team at Keeley Electronics. You know this. We were standing around daydreaming about how we can make pedals better, and I had an idea that if this circuit was so sensitive to those germanium diodes that if we found another germanium device that had a different clipping voltage, we were going to be in the money. And sure enough, it worked out like magic. And the Russian transistors have increased saturation, compression, and it just slides the frequencies around just enough that it makes it sound wonderful. So the changing of those diodes there is really kind of the evolution of this circuit, in my opinion. We put a bass boost on it. That brought up the low end a little bit more. And with our clever true bypass and buffer bypass silent switching, I think it's amazing.
We're actually here today with our great friend Owen Barry,
Hi.
which Owen's kind of the perfect guy for this because...
I hate clones. I don't hate clones. I'm just not a clone guy.
But you're a pro, and
Yeah.
you've used the Klone on many a session.
Well, I kind of went down the route. I felt the pressure to, I've got to have that clone or that clone in my arsenal. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole, trying all the clones, obsessing over them till I found the one that was like, yep, that's good enough. I'll settle for that. And it just lives in a plastic tub of overflow pedals that goes to all my sessions and stuff. Occasionally I use it, but it's not a circuit that I'd ever have on my board.
Right.
I might occasionally use it for like a part, but if it's definitely not an always on sound, and it's not kind of like my preferred sort of solo boost thing. But guys love it. There's a frenzy for the Klone frenzy.
Okay, so of course we have to first start before we dive into all that the Manis can do, letting people hear how close it is to the original Klone. Right. And so we brought a switcher today. Switcher here. I'm going to be switching between the Manis. The green light's the Manis, and the red light is the OG Klone. First, we'll hear just the amp. And now the Manis. I mean, that's kind of the test right there when you hold a chord out. You like a Klone now, or?
No.
We were like over here like, we did
it.
it. And Owen's like, yeah, I don't like a Klone.
I wouldn't use that sound.
I like your abilities to match that to that. I can't knock you for that.
Yes.
But no, it's impressive. I'm wondering whether this thing is actually on and doing anything.
It's not. That's
No,
why
we're just
everything's under
changing
the
lights.
board. Yeah. This is just light changing.
Yeah.
No, but that really shows, I mean, we put a lot of effort into making sure that our pedal nails that sound.
Right.
But truth be told, the thing that really was inspiring for you and I is why we have Owen here today. What about the guys that don't really like a Klone? Is there something we can do that would pull them into how awesome that circuit is. But, you know, Owen, for you, like, what are the things you don't like about it?
The buffered bypass can be a drag sometimes, which obviously I love the fact you can choose that. You know, you can have it buffered or true bypass, which is great. I'm kind of really finicky about my signal chain and having too many buffers in line and all that sort of stuff. But just sonically, it does a thing. Sometimes I need that thing, but more often than not, I don't. So it doesn't validate having that one-trick sort of pony. I mean, it's not a one-trick pony. You know, right now we've got it with the gain kind of.
You mean one-trick centaur?
One trick, half pony, half man. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not a Klone guy, but occasionally I use them.
Okay, so like we've said, you know, with the Manis, our real goal was to take the Klone and evolve it. Mm-hmm. And so what we have here is the germanium diode, which is going to be the classic Klone sound. But then if you flip this up, germanium transistor. So let's just hear, currently, this is the classic Klone sound everybody, well, some people love.
It just gets
So again, classic Klone sound.
honk honk.
Now germanium transistor. What is it about the germanium transistor that you like?
It kind of just adds a bit of compression to it. It flattens the frequency response a bit. It's just a bit less gnarly. The gnarly is good. I'm not, you know, I know I'm hating on the Klone a lot. And it does a thing, and the thing is cool. But switch up thing is better.
Yeah.
I like switch up.
You know, what's interesting to remember is the germanium transistors just have a lower threshold in which they start clipping. But if he's playing something delicate, they should still sound pretty similar. It's just as the more you dig in, the more the germanium transistors are going to reveal themselves, and it does take off those spiky top end pieces.
Yeah.
It's really
Let's
kind of
dig in.
perfect. Yeah, exactly.
That's soft.
Isn't that great?
Man,
that is so good.
That roll off,
Because you wouldn't want it to be scooped, like
Right.
so. Obviously, it's subtle, but it's enough to be a game changer for me. And of course, you know, the real game changer on top of that is that with it,
Adding
like the
just
difference
a little
between
bit of low end.
difference between that and that. That's the money for me.
Yep.
it's really nice to level out that frequency response.
Right.
So here's just a classic Klone sound with these settings. So even right there, that
very
that mod
obvious.
alone takes, you know, if you're not the biggest fan of just the frequency response of the Klone, we actually give you a 3 dB boost.
Right.
That's an octave lower than the Klone frequency
Yeah,
response.
and it takes those low mid-range and the low bass notes. And,
I was about to
and
say.
pushes them all up just a little bit.
Yeah, even that switching that up changes the perceived mid range.
Yep.
So kind of that in conjunction with that really shifts it. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's around 500 hertz or so is where you start to see the R's have a little bit more girth to it. It was great when we were listening earlier and you moved that switch up because we saw in the analyzer that our mode has a lot more second order harmonic distortion. When you look into that, that's a characteristic of tubes. So it's really nice how it becomes the grain of the distortion becomes almost a little bit finer and smoother. So that was great.
Honestly, like Owen said, if you really want to hear the difference, both switches down, that's classic Klone. This is the new evolution. So let's hear that.
For me, it would live in that mode, both switches up probably 90% of the time. But the other sounds I would totally use for certain things. So that in itself, I mean, me being kind of like a session guy and not like a band guy, where I need every pedal to kind of be a somewhat of a Swiss Army pedal, that in itself kind of validates it kind of being on the board.
That was a little Manis exploration for you.
I love it. As you were adjusting the switches, you could see that every time you moved it into the up position, it was just the right thing needed to make the guitar sound even better. So that's fantastic. When you go back and forth, even with these extreme setting differences, you can still tell it's in the Klone family, and that's just great. Yeah. Mission accomplished there.
What I like about it as well is obviously Telecaster, spiky, unforgiving guitar into kind of, clean Fender amp. This kind of softens it up and makes it just feel real nice under the fingers.
So it's pretty interesting if you look at pro boards with Klones. They tend to use it in two settings, where it's more of like a clean boost, or like we've shown, like with the drive up a little bit. You don't really see a ton of people using it for higher gain stuff. We want to show the biggest difference between the germanium diode and the transistor when you boost that gain. So we're going to introduce a humbucker, and I think Owen might chug a little bit for us. So let's listen to it first in the stock Klone position.
That's great. That is great.
I think your exact words what he was playing was, now we're playing music.
Now we're making music. Yeah.
So the other thing that we haven't mentioned is that obviously those two switches take it out of Klone world, and it takes it into something that's, if you handed me that as a standalone pedal, I would never be like, oh, that's just a modded Klone. It's kind of has its own DNA, and it doesn't really sound like any other overdrive pedal I've kind of used. It's unique.
Thanks.
Bravo. Maestro.
Thank you.
We salute you.
It was really amazing to see Trey Anastasio of Fish perform his acoustic guitar tour earlier this spring. And there he got to showcase not only the Manis, but two Manis pedals with his acoustic guitar rig. It was a very very exciting to see.
A Klone with an acoustic guitar? I've never even
Who
heard
would
of
have
that.
ever thought? So, and then you put two of them together. It really seems odd at first, but the results speak for themselves. It's a very warm, nice sound he has. You can tell when he turns the Manis off because it becomes a very simple, plain acoustic guitar sound through a piezo pickup, So it was pretty exciting.
That really speaks to just like wanting to give people something that's legendary that a lot of people love, but hopefully inspiring people to use the Klone style circuit in a new way, like Trey with his acoustic. I mean, that you just would never think like a drive pedal is going to make my acoustic sound better.
Yeah.
But with that germanium transistor mode, how it rolls off the high end and the compression and the bass boost, it's just great. So we're really excited to even just see how people end up using the Manis in a different way.
Right.
It's good getting it out to sort of actual gigging musicians as well. So it's not just on the old Rich Lawyer pedal board.
Exactly.
They need pedals too, though.
They need pedals too, yeah. Clones. Take all the
Clones.
clones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have all the original ones. I have a Manis, I don't need one.
For the common man.
Exactly. That's why he got me in. Common as muck. They probably can't even understand anything I'm saying anyway. Just sing on.
Yeah, it's just awesome to be able to create something that definitely, honors the legendary circuit.
Oh, yeah.
But to be able to bring people new sounds, that's what we're about at Keeley. And so we really appreciate you guys checking out this video. If you want to learn more about the Manis, go to rkfx.com.